What's up, you guys? Welcome to Boss Level 8. We just watched the movie Bumblebee, the new Transformers movie, the prequel. It's like a far-ass prequel. Like, it happened like way before all the other stuff. We do things a little bit different here. What we're gonna do is we are gonna look at one critic's review and then point out everything that's stupid about it and just generally make fun of it. I'm reading the review for the first time with you guys, and we're gonna get into it in just a bit. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. Now let's take a look at Nick Johnston's review of Bumblebee. Knight, the rapper turned producer turned director and son of Nike head honcho Phil Knight, seemed to have assembled a brain trust that might be able to move the series away from Michael Bay's firm hold on its aesthetics. Please don't ever say Michael Bay's firm hold to me ever again. So far, I'm fine with your review. I mean, you didn't say anything much yet, but that just made me uncomfortable. I feel like my penis will explode. Michael Bay loves his explosions. He moved the setting as well, placing it firmly in the late 80s, almost putting the Transformers in their original cultural context. And if nothing else, it seemed interesting. That was not a compliment. That wasn't a compliment at all. They almost had the time period right, and I guess it was kind of interesting, but you know, whatever. It's not. Oh, apparently it's not. It's definitely not a compliment. Okay. For a second there, I thought you were just like, you know, casually giving a compliment, but didn't want to give too much. But really, you're just being mean. Bumblebee is somehow a massive step back for the franchise, and it replaces Bay's, well, yeah. It's way earlier, significantly earlier. And it replaces Bay's occasionally enticing flair with a series of firmly uninteresting visual and storytelling choices that have been seemingly dictated by a series of focus groups. Focus groups? No, it's more accurate to the Transformers franchise. I mean, if the focus group was people who knew a lot about the Transformers franchise, maybe? I mean, that's possible. Maybe if they were using 45-year-old men who frequent toy shows as their focus group, they would get, you know, an accurate Transformers movie. And I mean toy shows that sell like Transformers, not the ones that sell like rabbit dildos or whatever. Also, can I clarify that the rabbit is a type of dildo? I don't mean like dildos for rabbits. If you're feeling you might have seen this before, you have. It's the 2007 Transformers all over again. No, it's not. It's incredibly different. Like, vastly different. They don't even look the same at all. The lead is a young girl. Even just that is different. I understand that, like, a young person found Bumblebee. Sure. You do realize that, like, just Bumblebee is on the planet, right? That's already very different. One Autobot, many Autobots, very different. And it somehow fares even worse this time around. Yeah, I mean, it's so much worse because they are exactly the same. Wouldn't it be the same amount of worse? If they're the same, it's the same amount of bad. In this light, it's interesting to consider that the original sin of the live-action films might not be Bay's, but longtime series producer Steven Spielberg. I've been saying this for a long time. Spielberg is responsible for the plight of everything and everyone. For sure. He did it all. It's always been easy to blame Bay with his disdain for the fans, stylized filmmaking, and shitty sexist racist humor, providing decent cover for a whole host of issues to skate by unexamined. But even with all of that, Michael Bay is not the culprit. It's clearly wholesome Steven Spielberg that's the problem. Not racist sex scandal Bay, but Steven Spielberg. The guy who made Animaniacs and Schindler's List is clearly why Transformers sucked. But with Knight at the helm, a focus group approves sterility, replaces Bay's rough edges, and removes their occasional potential for sheer batshit joy, and a garish fan service ideology takes hold. It's made as a rebuttal to the CinemaSins types out there in the world who will mistake its boring competence for memorable quality. I just think it's funny that you're like really trying to connect with the millennials and the young people by naming a YouTube channel. Well done. I'm just hoping at some point he's like, you know, if they had actually given us an honest trailer, you know how it should have ended. Oh. Rhett and Link. And who will be easily dulled into complacency by the presence of an animated Optimus Prime, styled after the one they had as children in 1984, barking orders. And this time, there aren't any goddamn flames on him, so people won't freak the fuck out about it. Yeah, People are gonna be excited to see the thing that they grew up with done well. I don't think that that's odd. If your alcoholic brother sobers up, you're happy. That's something you grew up with that's done well, right? Anyways, the nerds have always wanted to see the classic designs on screen, so let's give them a 5-minute stretch at the start, featuring the Generation 1 designs fighting one another on Cybertron. That feels ripped straight from another Transformers video games advertising, or from everything that Transformers has ever done, because that's the basis of the entire story. That's the whole thing. They fight, and then they have to go get energy sources from elsewhere because they were fighting. That's the plot of all of them. The toys, the cartoons, the movies, everything that has been done. If you want a different plot, go fucking make a GoBots movie. The nerds gave their money in droves to the 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so let's use a period approach that crams 80s pop song after pop song into the mix in order to prove that we have some sort of soul, or to go with the time period that we chose. Setting matters, people. It makes sense. If you're taking place in '87, it does not make sense to play Bad Blood by Taylor Swift. It makes a hell of a lot more sense to play a song by Simple Minds, because you know who was performing then? Simple Minds. I'm pretty sure Taylor Swift wasn't even a thought at that point. What was her album called? When was she born? It was like 80, I can't remember what her album's called, but she might have been born at that point.
80-something after we were.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that, like, I know she wasn't, like, warming all of our hearts with her sultry tones at that point. Could I have said that more sarcastically? I don't think so. Oh, it's 1989. You were completely correct. So she was -2 years old. -2. She had only had 3 bad relationships at that point. Why can't T-Swift keep a man? I don't get it. The humor is still painful, and each and every laugh derived from the time period is cheap and miserable. Hey, people watched Alf. Look, Pong, Mr. T cereal. The groan start about 10 minutes in and just don't let up. I don't know. I didn't groan when I saw Mr. T cereal because it's impossible to groan when you see Mr. T cereal. That just immediately brings joy into the hearts of anyone who looks at it, unless they are soulless. Are you soulless? I think you are. The jingoistic militarism? You bet your ass it's still there. Only this time, it's being filmed by someone who doesn't give a damn about making it crackle with the kinetic energy of any prior installment. No, even though Michael Bay was one of the producers, clearly Steven Spielberg just ruined the action for everybody. I mean, he just doesn't know how to do action. Name a single thing that Steven Spielberg has done that's had action. I'll wait. You can't do it. There's so many things. I mean, I'll take John Cena garbling lines about the Decepticons at a Joint Chiefs meeting any day of the week over whatever Josh Duhamel was up to over the course of the 5 Bay films, but at least Bay gave him something to do. I mean, I feel like giving acting to John Cena is enough. He cared about making his intense action the kind of overwhelming spectacle that was impossible to ignore. And Knight, even for all the comprehensible action he stages here, can't compare to the metal-on-metal fury that defined the Bay era. I mean, during the Bay era, everyone was complaining about the metal-on-metal fury because they were just saying that you couldn't even see what the hell was going on. Now you're like, where's that thing I was whining about? I want that back. This approach is terrible in a number of ways, but it's particularly egregious given the fact that, as a friend pointed out, Transformers fans have overwhelmingly rejected all things related to the Bay franchise, from aesthetic to plot and beyond, so this nerd-focused retooling feels destined to land with the thud. I mean, I guess. The problem that they had was that it wasn't respectful to the franchise that they really liked, and the plots were really thin, and a lot of it just didn't work, according to them. So I don't think it's destined to land with a thud. I think that if they actually respect the franchise and give them a decent plot and some style and do all the things that they felt was missing, it's destined to make them go, holy shit, this is what we actually wanted, thank you. Turns out, considering the reaction from audiences and critics, it looks like the thud didn't happen. So that's kind of nice. Who then is this exactly for? I just told you. Oh, I'm reading your review. We're not actually talking. Fuck. All right, I'll move on then. If there exist fans of Bayformers, they'll be angry at how watered down and truncated this is in comparison to its forefathers. But it's families that Knight and Hodson have set their eyes on by removing the sex and the violence from the sex? There was sex? I understand that just because Megan Fox is on a screen, we all think about sex. But there was no sex. No one had sex. I mean, here, there was a lot of sex. On the screen, not a lot sex. Not once did Shia LaBeouf make Megan Fox's star scream. And also by stealing from the greats in the giant robot genre. Seriously, you won't find a more half-assed attempt at ripping off the Iron Giant and its enduring pathos this year. To me, the trope isn't really that it's a robot. To me, it's more that there's a common plot that someone comes across a creature of some sort that would normally be feral, and then it turns out that they're not. That's happened a million times. That's literally like the Call of the Wild when the boy finds a fucking wolf that should be tearing him to shreds. There's so many stories where like a kid finds something that should be killing it, but isn't. It's not the Iron Giant. Also, if you like the Iron Giant, fucking Steven Spielberg made the Iron Giant. He doesn't ruin things. All without really understanding exactly what made those films tick. It's third-hand emotion, and Bumblebee only works by pantomiming stories you, or your parents, once liked back when they were fresh. It's no substitute for the real thing. It's very odd because, which thing are you referring to as fresh? Is it the Michael Bay Transformers that you're referring to as fresh? Because you're saying this doesn't really hold a candle to that. Or is it the original Transformers? Which of course was based on a toy line. Is it the toy line? Is the comic book? Which thing is fresh? What's the thing that we're actually supposed to like? Who did it right? Can't you just enjoy it? Can't you just like look at it and be like, hey, I'm happy they did this. Or I hate that they did this. I will move on and go to one of the 90 other robot movies I can watch, you know? What did you guys think of Bumblebee if you've already seen it? If not, are you planning on seeing it? And most importantly, put down in the comments what you thought of this guy's review. I think it's a bunch of nonsense. Absolute nonsense. But we'd love to hear what you got to say. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. Also, you can watch this show get recorded live on Twitch. There will be a link in the description so you can check it out every single week. And until we see you guys next time, geek out and game on.